Good morning to everybody here on the Twilight Network. My name is Liam, and coming to you from... Oh, don't tell me I shut it down. Yeah, I did. Pin Inair land here in the northern portion of Tasmania. Um, just want to take some time to acknowledge the Aboriginal community out here, elders past, present, and emerging, who have gone through systems of violence, systems of pain, and are coming out the other side. I want to acknowledge them and give them the respect that they deserve. Now, today we're talking, as you can see, about Deviant the Renegade. And if you want a feel for Deviant, Beast in Black, Moonlight Rendezvous is a fantastic song that just kind of captures the vibe of Deviant. Now it is also early, so you are going to be getting frequent interruptions from my cat, as she is demanding of attention. Much like the Deviants, much like the Renegades, demand our undivided attention. Now, we've been talking about Mummy for the past couple of months here on the network, and part of that's been really... Look at this. Look at this. This is what I have to work with. Absolutely adorable. In discussing Mummy, we've really been discussing themes of Empire. As a mummy, you are an agent of Empire that's coming to terms with the fact that you are one of these. You are taken, you are used. Hey, Cat Jellings. How you doing? And whilst Mummy is really about either furthering the cause of the Empire or coming to terms with its failure, Deviant is about being the victim of that Empire. Deviant is about taking your power back. The Empire took you. They blew up your planet. They blew up Alderaan. They took you away from your land and made you into something alone and isolated from everyone else. You are a tool to be used. But you're fighting against the hand that fed you. You're fighting to take back what you lost. You are fighting to regain who you once were. Yes, kitten, hello. Or you're fighting for attention and love, aren't you? So Deviants in many ways are World of Darkness's go at X-Men, which is a bit, Chronicles of Darkness's go at X-Men, which is a bit kind of reductive, but also extremely accurate. You, as a Deviant, you were a regular ass human. You went through life, you existed, and then a conspiracy came along. Now, conspiracies are vague yet menacing government agencies, to borrow from Welcome to Night Vale. Conspiracies are, if we're looking at X-Men, you'd be looking at Stryker in X2, where he comes in not as a established antagonist. Yes, thank you. We were just getting bitten, and nibbled on. Stryker comes in X2, and we know that Wolverine has this history with him. We know that Wolverine has been through something with him. We know that there is this force behind Stryker. What we don't know about Stryker is who the hell he is, what the hell he wants, and why he's attacking the mansion at the start of X2. Stryker is a conspiracy. He's a person who's coming to reclaim assets and gain new assets. It's just those assets take the form of human resources, and humans are the best resource for any conspiracy. This will this obviously will have a lot of references back to X-Men as well as other forms of media. If you're not familiar with them, or if anything triggers your thoughts, throw them into chat. I would love to see what kind of feeds into your mind here, because there's a lot of potential similarity that Deviant carries with modern media that, reading through, I've been mulling over, and they pull that out too. They mention Stranger Things, where you've got the kids who slowly gain more knowledge of who they are, and you've got Eleven, who is a deviant. Except what sort of deviant is she? That's kind of the real question. Deviants have multiple origins. This game functions much in the same way that all CFD games function, with rules of 3 and 5. 3 and 5 is kind of how the sub assumption of what Chronicles of Darkness does. You have 5 potential origins, which are how you changed, what changed you. You have 5 Clades, which is what you were changed into, what's actually shattered your soul, what manipulated you and changed you. And then you have 5 forms. These forms are closer to the reasoning behind your divergence. Okay? Origins are what changed you, Clades are what you were changed into, and forms are kind of the reason or the what and the how you were changed. Now, I'm going to be honest here, Deviant isn't really my book. I don't really resonate with the themes. It's got some interesting elements, but it's not necessarily my thing. But I think this is an interesting idea. So we're going to kick off Deviant looking at the origins. Just got to find it in the book. Autogenics, or the elect. These are the people that wanted to change. And I'll just move my notes over to this other screen. Ooh. Ooh. Sorry, we won't be doing that again. This is not about werewolf. Surefire way to get shot. The elect are those that wanted to change. They're the people that wanted to become something more human. They're the people that wanted to be altered in some form. These are not necessarily people that you see in X-Men, but if you wanted a good style of autogics, you can look at Asuka from Neon Genesis Evangelion. These are the people that wanted to push their humanity to a point that it breaks and they become something more. They are all about hubris. Not in the Mage the Awakening sense, but in the you signed a contract without knowing what it was actually about. You signed a contract with the devil, and now the devil's come to claim its due. As you can see, their idea will blow that up a little. Their quote is, "Be careful what you wish for. You have to be." These guys are not about... They are not victims in the classical sense. They are the people who were tricked. They are the people that were manipulated. They are those who... Well, they are those who pushed themselves. Less tricked and manipulated and much more, we wanted something. We just didn't know what the cost would be. We knew we wanted this power, we just didn't know what it would take. That's sort of what they're running along with. Next you have the volunteers, or the voluntold. And I have to say, the art in this book absolutely sells what you're supposed to be, what you're supposed to do, how you're supposed to feel as a deviant. It's just fantastic. I would recommend it if you can find an art pack. The volunteers are those who are the ones that are actually tricked. They're the ones that are actually manipulated. They're the ones who said, yeah, we're going to go for it. We're going to give it a go. But the main thing about them is they needed something. They wanted something. They desired something, and this was just a way to get it. You joined the program, and you took a six-figure salary. You joined the program to get healthcare, if we're looking at an American situation. You were poor and destitute. And so you did what was necessary to get the thing that you wanted, but what you ended up with was something so much worse. That's an exomorph. An empimorph. Next are the exomorphs, the unwilling. Now this really, once again, the art really just chef's kiss. These guys were your test subjects. You had no right. These guys are those who were changed by someone else's intentions, whereas the elect are those who changed because of what they wished to accomplish, what they wanted, and the epimorphs were changed because of, with some knowledge of what they were getting into. These guys were captured, they were changed, and they were unwilling. You had no right to touch me. You had no right to do this to me. You had nothing about this. That's fantastic. These are the sort of people that Wolverine is. Yes, there is something genetic about Wolverine, the mutation and all that, but when we are looking at Wolverine in X2, for example, this is what we're looking at. A person who is changed by someone else, and they had no right to change them. Prisoners. Amazing symbol right there. Sends everything. Genotypals. The born. People who are changed not because of what they are and, the deals that they signed and what they were striving towards, but because of who they are. Because of the blood. Hello, kitten. These guys are generally mutants. They are changed through the circumstances of their birth. If you're used to playing sorcerers in D&D, you will love the genotypal. They are the people who are changed because of their families. Maybe your family long ago had a spirit that claimed one of them, And as that spirit claimed lived and bred with people around, the genetics slowly altered, and your family, every 7 generations, throws up one of these genotypal, one of these born. There you go. There's their little symbol. Next, you have the pathologicals, or the accidents. These are the people who were changed not because of who they are, not because of what they could do, but because they were in the wrong place at the wrong time doing the wrong thing. They are twisted by accidents. Yes, hello, kitten. So, look at this. Needy and lovely. And then assault. You're a deviant. You are the deviant here. The pathologicals are twisted not because of who they are, not because of anything they did, but because they are there. They're victims. If you're used to excuse me. If you're used to Call of Cthulhu stories, if you're used to Welcome to Night Vale, or anything like that, these are often all victims of circumstances. Their eyes were never meant to be opened, but they see it now, and they see you, and they are struggling to understand who they are. Because sometimes chance happens. Sometimes you just change. I do love this. This is very similar to one of the first edition Sin Eater archetypes, which was the Lucky, and it plays on this very well, and it fits quite a bit better with Deviant than it does with Geist. Now, next are the Cephalists. These are the psychics. They reshape themselves with the power of their minds. They are superior because they are a Gnostic powerhouse. Their body may be weak and frail, as you can see with this woman. She's thin, you'd almost say emaciated. She's having to walk on crutches. Yet, my will over all. If you like things like Mob Psycho, this is these are the enemies in Mob Psycho. They are their mind. It's not just a tool to them. It is who they are. It is their existence. It is what they shall be and shall always be. They are psychics. And not just in the, oh, we checked your horoscope sort of psychic, but in the, I'm going to flay your mind with my telekinesis. I'm going to break you with my telepathy. And you will know me, and you will weep for my mercy over what you did to me. This is the first of our Clades. Clades are realistically the most mechanical power set, and they are, whilst origins are what, or the reasoning behind your change and why you were changed, the Clades are the what you changed to. A psychic, a hybrid. Look at this art. Seek gentlemen, growing bones. The chimeric are those who are spliced with animal DNA. They are those who, maybe not even animal, maybe another supernatural being. Have you ever wanted to have a human that had its DNA spliced with a changeling beast? Or a werewolf? These are the sort of things you end up getting. They are the gangrel. They are Uratha. They are the beasts. They are the instinctual people. these are the sort of people that you may want to play if you don't want to think too much in your game. These are the people who have been changed, not to become, um, intellectual powerhouses, but to become shock troopers, to become damage dealers, to become the terrors for their conspiracies, for the things that changed them. Beautiful little symbol there. Next you have the coactives, the infused, and it may not be coming up on your screens, but this woman has just these little crackles of lightning about her. This kind of gets the point. Coactives are a lot like the elementals in Changeling the Lost. They are the fundamental forces around them. They are pulling power to them. This may be spiritual power. You may have changed into someone who can manipulate ghosts or spirits, or been infused with some sort of ephemeral realm. Or you may be someone who is able to control gravity and able to manipulate energy itself. That's the sort of thing we're playing with here. If we're looking at X-Men again, Pyro and Iceman kind of fall into this category. They are playing with energy. Next are invasives. The cyborgs. If you're used to Teen Titans or if you're used to Young Justice, this is your transhumanist wet dream. Invasives are those who gain power through having something put into them. That is metallic, it is wooden, it is material. And this device or this artifact is gained from somewhere else, someone else. They are not... They are more than human now, but not through their power, through this additional power. These are the sorts of people who, joke that they're going to set off metal detectors at airports without having any metal on them because half their rib cage is actually now cybernetic. That's the sort of thing they're playing with here. And then you have the mutants, the grotesques. If you're used to Kirishima from My Hero Academia, if you're used to Beast, if you're used to kind of any of these people who are changed and their physical form is dramatically altered, that's these guys. They are the people whose genetics shattered and warped them into something else. They are, if we're looking at the Born, many of them may be mutants. That might be their clade. That might be what they became. You never know. But that's what they are. Is that making sense to those in chat? Is there anything that you would like more discussion on whilst we're dealing with a needy baby? Needy baby. Oh, thank you, kitten. Makes sense? Sweet. Now, one of the things that really changes, and the biggest piece of lore, really, for the Deviants, because these aren't your traditional gothic horrors. They aren't like werewolves who have been around for over 2,000 years. They aren't like vampires who had their resurgence with Dracula in the 1800s. They aren't Mary Shelley's Frankenstein or anything like that. These guys are a modern horror. These guys, like I said, are the X-Men. These guys are... Are you going to sit down? Are you comfortable? You comfortable? Cats. Um, these guys are not... Um, they don't have this gothic horror background quite as much. What they have is the modern horror and the modern fear. Whereas vampires leech on society, the deviants are those who were leeched upon and who changed. The change is not within their control necessarily, although many deviants may have been their own progenitor, the one that originally shifted who they are. These deviants have a moment of divergence. In Chronicles of Darkness, the soul is not as we understand it in our kind of Platonist sense. It's not the perfect version of you. The soul is something that can be broken, can be manipulated, can be altered. The soul is the powerhouse for your identity in many ways, but it is not your identity. You are not your soul. If you're used to mages manipulate souls all the time. They pull them from one person into another with no issue. Or sometimes they craft soul stones. Souls are just... They're kind of what makes you you. Less what makes you... Oh, sorry, kitten. Less what makes you human or anything like that. But for deviants, their soul is shattered in this amazing moment called the divergence. The divergence is not a simple thing. It's not easy to trigger. It comes in the form of huge stress and trauma. Once again, looking at X-Men, this sort of influence is kind of discernible. But in this moment of trauma, your soul breaks and is reformed into something else. A divergent soul. The book calls divergence an ugly and broken form of evolution, an imperfect transformation that warps its subjects through unnatural selection. Every remade is mutilated physically or spiritually by a scar, and expresses an adaptation or mutation in the form of a variation. Together, these changes form the core of what separates the deviant from baseline humanity. Your soul and body are warped and twisted. They're not yours anymore. You are a company asset. Please remember that when you scream for help. This is where the horror for deviants come in. The horror and the enemy of you are conspiracies that lurk in the background, making small adjustments, making small calculations. Is this person right for the selection process? Is this person appropriate for what we wish to accomplish? Is this person the ideal toy for what we wish to accomplish? Who knows? But the conspiracy will take you. Maybe they'll make an offer like they do with the volunteers. Maybe they'll purchase some of your loyalty. Maybe. Look at you. Look at you, such a kitten. Maybe they'll cuddle up to you and convince you that yes, you do love them. And then start biting you. Because you are unwilling. You are an exomorph. You're putting hair up my nose. You are too cute for streaming. Honestly. I'm distracted by you. I don't know how anybody else can function. It's very important to note that for the horror of Deviant to actually work, you are a victim. Even if you wanted everything that you got, you regret what happened to you. You are traumatized by what happened to you. You are changed by what happened to you. Deviant is not happy-go-lucky fun times. Deviant is, I wanted power. I wanted strength. I wanted money. I wanted something. And what I got was suffering. And because of this, you probably don't want to stay as an asset for the conspiracy. Much like 11 in Stranger Things, you don't want to be here. And so you run, and you flee, you break out, you crash out. Maybe another good Deviant story, Venom. Amazing Deviant story. Because what's happening is Venom is a... Well, we'll get into that. Venom is fun to build in Deviant and very easy to build in Deviant. But you are captured and bound. There we go. Yep. And then you escape. And the story of Deviant is one of vengeance. Of, I lost everything, so I'm going to take it from you. You burnt me. So I'm going to blast you from the face of this planet. Deviants are not good people. They're not moral people. You don't have morality as a deviant. Whereas human mortals have an integrity stat, deviants have convictions and loyalties that guide them. Convictions are things against the people that changed you. Using Venom again, Venom's conviction is to fight against the people who captured him and his siblings. In the case of Eddie Webb, the conviction is to expose. I can't remember the name of the group. Expose them. Their loyalty is to their former lover, their former fiance. This, brings amalgam. This brings, of course, some difficulties, and the form of the renegade, this person running away, alters to accommodate for this. So, there are 5 forms, 4 of which are really player characters. The other one, the devoted, are antagonistic. So, the first are amalgams. Amalgams are separate creatures that are bound into the deviant by divergence. They had to be sapient beings that push together, and their personalities form this seamless understanding of who they are. Next are the self-made. These are your mavericks that experiment upon themselves and alter themselves until they become something new, until the blood boils, until their body breaks, and they become something completely different. They may not have even been changed by a conspiracy. They may just have a conspiracy that is now hunting them because they were able to track the energy of the divergence. Oh, kitten. You then have the symbiotes. This is Venom. It's a variation with them, a mind of their own. Oh. Noms, right there. Yeah, they're deviants that have had the thing that's altered them has been another being that has been injected into them. Yes, this is Venom. Just straight line. If you've seen Venom, you know what this is. The next are the transmissible, and these are those who are carrying a disease that warps and alters who they are. The disease, rather than a fever of the body, it was a fever of the soul. This is not necessarily transferable onto other individuals. Maybe it's a bloodborne disease. There is some sort of vector of transmission that is very difficult for you to accomplish. But you have your alien nature transmitted to you. Deviant is an interesting game. There are lots of moving parts with it, and unlike with Mage, where there's lots of interlocks as to where those moving parts go, for example, or Changeling, where there's lots of interlocks there. Deviant is much more like a Rube Goldberg machine. There are points of interaction, but they are a bit more disparate, and they require a much more careful read of the rules. If you're used to reading D&D books, you will probably enjoy this, because you can do a lot of random stuff with Deviant. But if you're used to some of the more flexible forms of Chronicles of Darkness, like Mage, like Changeling, even to a certain extent like Werewolf, this may not be your taste. And as such, it's not necessarily mine. There are also a number of themes that, on the face of them, are very similar to other games. Changeling, for example, is one of the things that I struggled with this, because Changeling, you are a creature that is changed by something else into a fey entity whose body is then warped and twisted, and you become one of the lost. Deviant has a lot of similarities to that. On the face of it, it is a similar story of PTSD, it's a similar story of trauma, it's a similar story of coping. The big difference is changelings can never realistically fight back against their true fate. Admittedly, that's the place of the story, but for deviants, the story is you taking back from the thing that caused you pain, from the people that caused you your agony. If that sings to you, if that is something that just hits you, and you go, yeah, that is what I want. I want to be the badass that rocks up and wrecks shop. Or, I want to be the person who's transformed into a squirrel with mechanics. Let's find... I want to be able to stand up against a hail of fire. I want to be one of the X-Men. Bearbod, right there. I'm just trying to find my favourite illustration, because it's beautiful. Should have noted the page number. But that's the sort of... Here it is. Chronicles of Darkness can often struggle to make you feel like a badass. Deviant does not struggle to make you feel like a badass. Deviant does not struggle to put you into the middle of combat against overwhelming odds and for you to go, yep, this isn't as hard as it looks. Deviant is really good if you're used to the modern kind of cinema, modern semi-horror experience of being chased by government entities. It's... yeah, there is a little bit for everyone. Hey, Sithil. Hope you're doing well. Keithel? I don't know how to pronounce your name. You can do just about anything with Deviant. The variations and the forms... the variations and the scars make Deviants very... very complex, very interesting to manipulate and play around with. Awesome. Hope you're doing well, mate. The thing that is working against you, though, the conspiracy, has what the book calls this web of pain that weaves itself through your location. This web of pain may be different locations that you have to attend to, different places to go, different institutions that the conspiracy that changed you and is hunting you has. So you have a question here. Do I go? Do I fight against this institution? Do I kill everyone in there? Do I just let sleeping dogs lie? Do I just relax and let them be? Well, you can do that, certainly. But your convictions will slowly wear at you because you are not a stable individual, mentally or physically. Your divergence is a alien thing, is a unnatural selection put upon you, and it is warping you as you live, as you breathe, as you think, as you drink. Yes, hello. Okay, we're going for four cuddles and 4 attacks. Let's go. Your body is slowly being torn apart by your deviance and your divergence. If you don't act to bring yourself into catharsis, this process by which that you can live comfortably, having removed these convictions, this hatred from yourself, and instead be defined by the loyalty that you have to your friends, to your lovers, to your brothers, to your sisters. This is what makes Deviant kind of interesting. There is a lot of mechanical work behind Deviant. There's a lot of mechanical left and right with it. But Deviant is really good at bringing you into the story of healing. Whilst it is revenge that really drives the Deviant, whilst it is revenge that really drives the broken, and isolation that they feel from regular humanity, even from their own, from other people that have gone through this deviation. You know, a volunteer who changed because they had no choice. They felt that this was just a means to an end, has a completely different relationship to who they are as a genotypal does. Genotypal is looking at this situation and going, I was born for this. How can you feel as you do? Each one reflecting a different sort of trauma. The born may have had this innate in them, but were they pushed into it by their family? So you have these sorts of things going on. A hybrid doesn't respond the same way a mutant does. They might have similar viewpoints on this was done to me, etc., etc., but how they heal from that is going to be different. How their vengeance plays out is also going to be different. So it just really depends on what you want to look at for your deviant, and how you want to play it out, and what conspiracies are in the area if you're running this game. If you're a storyteller, Deviant is one of those games that is brimming with hope. The hope is that you will be free, that you will be able to live your life. Except you never will you? You're always going to be the freak with wings. Are you going to have that virus inside you that means if you spill blood in someone's mouth, they're going to warp and break and their skull is going to fracture? But maybe if you just don't cut yourself, if you just live a good life, if you're a quiet person, you can get through this horror and this pain. That is Deviant. So if there's any questions from chat, I'd be happy to field them. We are about to jump into, let me check, in 10 minutes, Into the West, a Mage the Awakening game with Occultist Anonymous is going to kick off. So I'll be jumping off in about 5 minutes or so. But yeah, if anybody has any questions, any comments, next time I'm streaming, which will be in 2 weeks, we'll be looking at conspiracies and how to build a conspiracy that will hunt down a pack of deviants. Look at this little deviant. Of course, I tip this forward. There you go. There you go, kitten. Look at this creature. This one's origin is clearly... she's a volunteer. She was not born to violence, but she became violence itself. And she is a coactive. The power that she has harnessed is cuteness. Look at this. Look at this. Look at this kitten. And this is the vengeance that I receive for drawing attention to her. Yeah, we're good. Yeah, absolutely, Keithel. The conspiracies are rad. I looked at the Darwin based conspiracies and was just like, oh, these are really, really cool. The Darwin I didn't particularly much like as a setting. I think there were a few things that the writing team kind of missed out on that they could have engaged a bit more with. But at the same time, Darwin is really... It's a very American feel to an Australian place, which is kind of rad. And the conspiracies there are hilariously fun. Now, so in 2 weeks' time when I kick off this chat about conspiracies. For those of you who haven't been around when I've done this, um, the goal for this is not to it is for everybody to be able to participate in it if you're in chat. So you guys get to help me design this conspiracy. I'll come with some sort of solid idea and solid setting, which will probably be in Tasmania. It's where I know, it's where I love to set my games, because the gothic feel of Tassie is just fantastic. There we go. Yeah. Now, title. Let's. Sorry, I've just got to set up for. Oh, Tasmania is my home state of Australia, so I hope you will enjoy it. Mage the Awakening into the west. Anonymous. I think that's how you spell anonymous. Yep. Yeah. I'm going to look at jumping off in 5, but following this is Occultist Anonymous, Mage the Awakening live play, which has been going for a good while. So if you're wanting to look at Mage, definitely jump on, definitely take it a look. I believe it's well worth it, but I don't have time. The joy of doing uni. But yeah, thank you very much. That's kind of all I have, so I'm gonna jump off. You all have a good time, and stick around if you want to see Occultist Anonymous. Bye.